We got a new CPI print today, and you would think that we saw CPI and inflation drop to 2%, but guess what? It didn't. And for some reason, the markets are excited about it. I don't know why. We'll dive into that in today's video. We'll also get into some of our picks for the next crypto bull run. No, it's not going on right now. No, it's not happening anytime soon, but someday we'll get there, and we want to be prepared for it. So before we dive into those things, hit the like button, subscribe to our channel for more content. Nothing that Kevin or I say is financial advice. We are not financial advisors. We love following the markets, trying to find an edge, and that's what we're going to try to do every single day on Money Never Sleeps. Please do your own research, though, before making any buys or sells. Kevin, CPI this morning, everything came in around expectations. Numbers are still very high, but the market seems to be getting bullish, and I do not understand why that's the case.
Yeah, I don't have a better answer. Again, I blame it on stupidity. I think that's probably the most valid thing. A lot of people really want us to be in a bull market, and so any piece of data that they find that could potentially add to their narrative of, oh no, this is bullish structure, I should buy because obviously if this is the start of the bull run, I want to make sure I'm ahead of the game. Do as you will if that's your plan. I don't see that as being the case. It's just the data was very, very much as is, kind of what was expected, literally as expected, down 0.1% from our expectations for that's the headline number too. So
yeah,
is that necessarily the most telling thing? No. Will it be revised? Most likely. Yeah. If it's been revised for the past, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 months, 11, fucking next 6 months, it'll be revised. But, it's just so stupid. And then we're getting excited over a number that comes out today, but then a month when it gets revised, we're not going to even acknowledge it. So it's such a stupid place right now. Toothpicks and bullshit. I called it, and I was dead on when I said that's what this market is being held together with. Absolutely is at this point.
All right, let me run through the numbers real quick. So the consumer price index came in at 0.4% month over month. That was in line with expectations, and that is up from 0.1% the previous month. Core CPI, 0.4. Once again, forecast was 0.4, previous was 0.4. So we're staying flat. Year over year, this is the only thing that went down or came in under expectation, and it was CPI year over year, 4.9%. Forecast was 5%, previous was 5%. So it barely went down. And that is, we're really starting to feel the effects of those 75 basis point hikes now, or at least we should be in the inflation numbers. Mm-hmm. And then core year over year, 5.5% still. And that is the one that the Fed looks at more because that takes out food and energy. So if we look at food and energy real quick, food basically unchanged in April. Energy is up after going down in March. So we're seeing that number trend back up. We're seeing rent continue to be high. No one's very little home sales are going on, relatively speaking, because of the high mortgage rate. So rent is going to keep going up. So I don't understand why we are seeing the markets on the risk on side rally a bit today. We've also seen the projections for the June rate hike have gone from a 83% chance of staying flat, a 17% chance of going up. Now it is saying a 99.6% chance of no raise. And that does not make a damn bit of sense to me. I don't understand it. I have to be missing something here. Maybe I'm just a moron. But when I see numbers like this and how sticky inflation is, and the Fed saying over and over and over and over and over that they're going to be on a mandate to get down to 2%, I don't get how they can just stop raising rates when they've been pussyfooting around with 25 basis point hikes so far this year. It doesn't make a damn bit of sense. Kevin, make it make sense for me.
Sorry, I missed 100% of everything you said because fucking Bitcoin's pumping right now. These fucking idiots. No, I heard everything you said. It's so stupid. Again, we're at a point where those 75 basis points are finally starting to hit, right? Obviously, we've seen inflation come down a significant amount. But are the 25s going to do anything different to get us to that 2% inflation rate that we want?
I think we can probably throw out 2%. I agree.
It's bullshit.
I think there's no way the Fed is going to get there. Okay, let's look at 3%. Let's be realistic here and look at 3, maybe 3.5 even. But there's not a snowball's chance in hell that the Fed is getting 2% inflation by the end of 2024 or whenever they said it was going to happen. They're saying 3.6% by the end of this year. Not at this rate. Maybe by the end of 2024, but this makes not a goddamn bit of sense. Mr. House, GM, happy to have you. Holy fuck.
You need some again, we saw inflation come down because of those 50s and those 75s. If they really wanted to get down to, 2% by next year, they're on a couple 50s and 75s. Obviously, that's going to hurt the market, but at the same time, it's like, are we prolonging something that's going to be even more catastrophic if we let this play out? Yeah, absolutely. It's so stupid that the market itself is pricing in almost zero rate hike because what, inflation came down 0.1%. It's so weird to see how the markets are reacting to data. Either they overreact, they underreact, or they don't react at all. For the most part, it feels like it's like underreacting or overreacting, maybe on some of this data. But the important data that we see, it's like unemployment comes down even lower, and the markets are rallying off of that. But you know, rates are probably going to continue to increase. We saw the rate hike last, what was it, March 3rd, 25 basis points. Again, they're not stopping. He even said that they're most likely not going to cut this year. It's what are we missing? What are we
So here's one thing that is like, here's another part of it that drives me crazy is like we hear all the time that in order to get inflation down, the fund rate is going to need to be higher than the inflation rate. It's still not there yet. If you look at the core year-over-year number, which the Fed prefer between the CPI, the non-core and the core, that before the core PC is their preferred one, yada yada yada. The Fed funds rate is still below year-over-year core CPI. So that tells me that they need to keep raising. If we I have the last year's rate increases in front of me. They did 75 in June, July, September, and November. So it is coming up on what they say it normally takes like 6 to 9 months before a rate hike to really start to be felt in the inflation data. We're right at that point. We've started to hit that point with the early 75s, and now we're coming to that point with the last two 75s. And we're not really seeing a whole lot of movement. We have one more CPI print until or before the next Fed meeting. There's going to be the May print, comes out in early June before the June 14th rate hike. I would love to know if there's a place where I can bet on the rate decision, because if I can bet on the rate decision and they're putting at a probability of 99.6% it won't move, I will hammer the line that says we get a rate hike, because I think people are like trying to be wishful here, and they want the Fed to do what they want it to do, not what the Fed is going to do and needs to do to hit their goal. So I think it's just such an ass backwards setup right now. I think the market is so full of shit. I think that it is just built on optimism and hoping in one hand, and like, oh God, it's so frustrating. Like, it's just because we're dicking around. The market has to have a reckoning at some point. We had it for like to a deep extent last year. We've seen a recovery, but I just do not believe that the worst has passed us, and I just want us to get there and get it over with.
Oh yeah, I completely agree. And again, it's not even a question of are they going to raise rate hikes at all. It's more of like if we keep being stupid, or not us, but like the market continues to be stupid, retail is just not getting it. It's not going through their skull to the point where it's like, okay, this shit's probably going to take a turn for the worse before it takes a bullish leg up. And we're talking macro, obviously here. The question is this going to be worse than or equal to 2008? That's the point where I am right now. Is this market going to be, as bad as 2008, where everyone loses a shit ton because obviously people are just dumping money into the markets at every chance they get? Or is it going to be, very similar to the point where it's like 55% drop, people are panicking. Obviously people are going to panic either way, but I don't know, man, the longer this plays out, the worse it gets. And I don't see a point where, we cap $1 trillion in consumer debt, and then the housing market starts to collapse, commercial real estate, like all this shit is just building up to a point where the dam is gonna break, and everyone that's in the valley is just gonna get absolutely fucked.
Yeah, it's really bad. It's really bad. I don't know what to say at this point.
We're bearish. We're bearish as fuck.
Yeah,
that's all I can say.
That's really all there is to it. Like, and I just want us to get people in the room who know what is going, or like, not even because I think the Fed. I don't even know. Like, does the Fed know what they're doing? Like, I have no clue. I want to have faith in Jay Powell, but I just don't even know anymore.
You know what?
I think they were. I think the Fed was put into an impossible situation with the amount of money that was printed, with the stimmies that went out, and now they're just like, they're going to crash the car, and then they're going to have to rebuild it from the top.
Yeah, there's no fucking brakes on this.
What are you getting ready to say? Yeah.
Yeah, it's just there's no fucking breaks. And again, I'm gonna bring up Peter Schiff because you and I were talking a little bit about him before the show started. Dude came out and he obviously thinks it's gonna be worse than 2008, and I kind of fucking agree with him. And again, I don't think that Bitcoin's going to zero, but I do think that we're gonna see a massive economic downturn for the entire U.S. economy, even global economy, if we're fucking around this much. But oh shit, just had it, just went right through my head. Oh no, it was
Oh, Kevin,
it was a
what now?
it was a great point that he made. Oh, fuck JWeb.
All right.
Alright,
Well, we'll
we'll come
try to
back
come.
to it.
We'll we'll come back to that.
Damn, that was
So,
good.
that's the big news of the day. Tomorrow we have producer price index data coming out. CPI is.
I got it.
Yep. Go ahead. Go.
All
Just
right.
go.
Yeah, so the Fed, obviously, he was talking about how the Fed was put in an impossible position, and it's like Jay Powell is doing the one thing that, well, he's hoping that Congress will do the one thing that'll absolutely bring inflation down, because inflation's not actually coming down. It's just they're spending too much fucking money. They're spending way too much money as he's raising these rates, and obviously, to combat that, he needs to be able to make sure that the U.S. is not spending as much. That's just causing inflation to continue to go up. That's also a reason why we're so fucking close to the debt ceiling at this point too. But he thinks that if he's unable to tell Congress to do anything because Congress just won't listen at all. And so if there's anyone, he was putting the blame on Congress. He said that it's 100% Congress's fault that inflation continues to rise, and then we won't see it come down fully to the the 2% level because they just won't stop spending. And
That's what Schiff was saying.
Schiff was, yeah, he was going, it was an article, I forget what it was, maybe Fox Business or something like that. But he was just like pretty much saying how the Congress is spending way too much. Jay Powell doesn't have the balls to pretty much tell them, hey, stop fucking spending. And this inflation will not go down. We'll see something worse that will lead us into something worse in 2008 because inflation is just not coming down fast enough. We'll probably see a spike pretty soon. That was the gist of his article, the article in the interview that he did. But I was like, that's pretty interesting to think. Like Jay Powell is just pretty much, like you said, in an impossible position, and Congress is blaming the Fed, but the Fed is like, well, you motherfuckers are the reason why it keeps going up. So really interesting to see.
That's a fair point from
Yeah.
I mean, I don't agree with Peter Schiff on a regular basis, but
Same.
I can't. I have a hard time arguing with him on that one. Okay, so like I was saying, we have PPI coming out tomorrow. That one's a little more interesting because CPI is looking at the prices that have the price movement in the past. PPI kind of gives us an idea of like, okay, if producer prices are going down, we can then hope that retail prices are going down, consumers are going to pay less, so on and so forth. So interested to see what that looks like. If that gives us an indication on what we can expect from inflation in the coming months. Still think it's not going to be good, whatever. We also today wanted to talk about crypto and where we're starting to pay our attention to, and when this eventual drop that we're expecting happens, where we want to deploy capital into. So I kind of want you to lead this one, Kev. I have a few that we talk about regularly that I'm still focusing on, but I kind of want you to lead the conversation.
Yeah, definitely. So obviously, when it comes to crypto, and you always want to have a great entry point. I guess that goes for TradFi as well. And right now, I personally don't see that being the case. We're waiting for that drop so that we can put in the most of our cash deployed to a point where we're going to see some profitable gains over the next cycle. Traditionally, I don't tend to go for Bitcoin. I think I've traded Bitcoin more so in this bear market than I have ever in a bull market, and I think that's a pretty good strategy because, well, obviously it's a little bit easier to track Bitcoin on the way down rather than some of these alts. Alts are a little bit more unpredictable. The market caps are smaller than Bitcoin, so obviously Bitcoin's overall dominance is gonna spook some of the market caps for these alts. But going into a bull market, I'm most likely going to be 100% in altcoins. I might not even have any Bitcoin. That's just to be honest. I believe everything's a tool, but I think I have a better chance of making more money if the market cap is small enough, but the potential growth is way higher. I think the return on investment for a lot of these altcoins are going to be extremely significant. And there's some that we've talked about, back since December, like Matic, Link, and some of those that are pretty much primed for a really good move to the upside once obviously it bottoms. So first coin I'm probably going to bring up is Cardano. That's the one that obviously JWeb knows how much I appreciate it. I love Cardano. I think I'm not going to say a safe bet, but I do trust the team behind Cardano. Obviously Charles Hoskinson was on the Ethereum team, and then he branched off to create this blockchain. I think it's just a safe bet. It might be the safest bet in my opinion. That's the one I've always felt comfortable, like not having to worry about. Just put my money in it, and it'll obviously grow. And it grew. It grew pretty well last time. Like I think I was getting around 75 cents last bull market, and then exit positions right around 280, 290. So pretty good returns. I think right now that we're seeing Cardano. It's probably going to go to pretty decent levels. Let me pull it up on the charts real quick. I haven't looked actually at Cardano in a while. I'm just going to pull it up on Binance. But if we look at Cardano where it currently sits, it is around 37 cents. So, I mean, considering where it was at like 313 at the height of the bull market last year or last cycle. Now we're at about 37 cents. I think there's really good opportunity for this thing to come down to, where did I have it before? I'm looking at the 1 hourly. Sorry. I was looking at some of the meme coins on the 1 hourly earlier, and definitely need to get down there. Otherwise, it was just massive red and green candles. Nonetheless, here we are. So far we put in the low for Cardano at around 23.87 this year, and we obviously had a pretty good rally to the upside. I think that we're going to be breaking out of this. It looks like a bear flag to me. But where are we going to end up most likely? I think it's going to be somewhere between 16 and 18 cents. I think that's where we're going to get a wick to the bottom. And now if we take 16 to 18 cents and we look at that last time's bull market, we hit $3.10, $3.11. It's a pretty damn good return. So if I'm looking for something safe, I always think Cardano. I think that their staking protocol is extremely great too. The rewards, I think you're getting like 4.4% based on whatever you're staking in the in the pool. I also think that the fact that you can take your coins off and you have access to them at any point, you just don't get the rewards or the same amount of rewards, is another great opportunity. So if you are looking for passive income, because there's no such thing as passive income, but passive income in a bull market where you feel like you want to have your supply grow as you accumulate, as it goes up just a little bit, this might not be a bad option. I think the fact that it's, you're not locking your coins in for good. You're not doing any of that Ethereum or chain link stuff where it's locked and you can't really touch the supply for a while is pretty amazing, because if something bad happens in the market, you can take your stuff right out, put it to the exchange, sell it if you need to, take profits. It's just, I think, an overall pretty safe method for a lot of people who are trying to get into altcoins, but at the same time, they don't want to potentially get absolutely wrecked.
Okay. Let's talk about, let's go into one of my favorite ones, probably my favorite one heading the next cycle, and that's going to be Matic. So we've talked about this one plenty of times before. You can pull up the chart for Matic. It's seen all-time highs just under $3. I think it got to like $2.95 back in, when was this? This was December of 21. So like right around Thanksgiving, 2021. It wicked up to that all-time high, and has had another big pullback since then. So I'm not a chart guy like Kevin, but what I do see is the Polygon team really busting ass to try to get Polygon being used by as many brands as possible as they get more involved in blockchain. We've seen it so far with Starbucks. We've seen it with Nike, and it's going to keep growing. There's a lot more people coming along the way. It's also been big in gaming. Recently minted a gaming NFT called Wildcard. Very easy process, very cheap process. Right now, Ethereum is just too expensive to transact on, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. I'm not an expert in blockchain, but it just doesn't seem like that's really the mass. All the transactions, I don't think are going to be happening on a lot of layer ones eventually. So to me, Matic is one of the better bets there if you believe in Ethereum long term. Gas price is cheap. It costs a few pennies to complete a transaction. As gaming becomes bigger focus on blockchain, and we know that will happen eventually, they're going to need somewhere to transact, and I believe that is going to be on Polygon. So that's where I'm at with it. I haven't started DCAing in quite yet. I know Kevin thinks it's going to get to 30. I'm going to start buying in around 60, because I do think it will get to that level. And if it gets to 30 and he wins that bet, then great. I can just buy more of it at 30 cents. So it's kind of a win-win for me. I almost hope I lose that bet, because I would buy more than $100 worth of Matic if it gets to that level.
Yeah, it's definitely going to go to 30. But the question is it by December 5th or not? We'll see. But yeah, Polygon, I couldn't be more bullish on Polygon as well. I think that it's going to be, massive going into the next cycle. And we already seen tons of adoption when it comes to it. I'm not a big fan of it. I just feel like they're always behind everyone else, and crypto's fast paced. Yeah, well, I understand that too. A lot of people aren't fans of Cardano. Uh, Again, I think they're more of a obviously tech-based company when we look at blockchain. Definitely not the sexiest in terms of adoption. I don't think people are really excited about Cardano NFTs or stuff like that. Even though they did have at some point a pretty good run up on Cardano NFTs, but no one really cares about that stuff. I think that they're smart contracts, and then again, just safety, security. I think it's a pretty good safe bet. Do I think it's going to go explosive in the next bull run? I don't know. I think $7 is a pretty good conservative estimate for Cardano. And considering it's at where right now, 37 cents, probably down to 16, 18. I think that's a pretty good return on investment. And I'll take that any day of the week, even if they are, yeah, sure, for, lagging behind some of the ones that are got bigger teams, maybe. But Polygon, definitely think that's going to be explosive in the next bull run. Uh, Obviously, we need to see this bottom out. And once this bottoms out, I think that we will get a lot more adoption going into, I guess, the next cycle. It's just a weird time right now. I don't think we're going to see tons of adoption going into the end of this year just because there's not a lot of liquidity around. I don't think money companies are really caring whether or not which blockchain they use is Polygon, Cardano, or Avalanche, any of these blockchains. I think most of their focus is on, are we going to survive or not? And I think that this is going to be more so once the dust settles. All the big institutions have made all the money. Everyone else is kind of just left with nothing. That's when you'll start to see this thing absolutely rip. And for Matic, I wouldn't be surprised if we get $10 Matic at some point. Not obviously not right away, but I do think that $10 Matic maybe 3-4 years from now isn't a crazy idea.
Yeah, and I'm less concerned about like the will they survive thing, because I believe that a lot of and maybe we're both wrong here, and a lot of these bigger brands are going to have their own blockchains. There was news yesterday about the Canton network, which is being built by Microsoft, Deloitte. I'm blanking on who else. I sent you an article about it, but
Yeah.
a lot of these are building their own blockchains as well. And so staying on top of all the news surrounding that is important too. So there's who else was it? Goldman's involved. So Goldman Sachs. So there's a lot of directions this could go, but I think that we'll see more and more of these blockchains implemented in a way that I'm not going to say they decouple from the crypto market. That's not going to be the case. But I think they're going to be less reliant on traders to drive value to it, and more reliant on actual use cases to drive value to it.
For sure. Yeah. Again, do I think it'll work out for some of these? Maybe. But at the same time, it's like I think some of these partnerships that we've seen already with some of these blockchains are going to be long lasting. And I think it's going to be good for a lot of these companies who aren't necessarily experts in blockchain technology to kind of just like, I guess, outsource this to the people who know what's going on and then eventually integrate it that way. I think that if you're trying to start from scratch, sometimes it might be just a little bit too much work. It's just absolutely unnecessary. So it'll be interesting to see. Again, I think this is not going to be the end of people trying to start their own blockchains. There'll probably be a lot more companies that are doing it as well. But I do think that Polygon, Ethereum, Cardano, these have a pretty good framework. So to try and reinvent the wheel might be a little bit idiotic for some of these companies. But next one,
Okay.
I'm going to go into one that I've always been a fan of. I don't talk about it too much on the show, but it definitely is one that I think is going to be really explosive, and that's VeChain. So VeChain is a token that we saw in the last bull run shoot up all the way to about 27, 28 cents. And it was absolutely explosive. It's it's got a ton of circulating supply. That's the only bad thing about it. I believe it's like 72 billion or something like that. It was at 64 billion at some point, but there's tons of supply. However, it has been pretty much just trading all the way down. It's kind of been forgotten about, but they've been doing tons of partnerships during this entire height of the bull market to where they are currently. I mean they sponsor with the UFC. So the UFC, if you watch any match, it'll say VeChain in the corners when they're fighting. So that's a pretty big sponsorship that they got with them. They also are doing tons of stuff with Amazon and Walmart. They have their supply chain. Obviously, that's their focus. It's all about supply chain. So they want to make it easier to verify products that are coming from overseas into these other ports. And I think that's really innovative technology, way to be using blockchain. And when I look at the price and everything like that, it's just so undervalued. Like, do I think $1, I mean, not $1, 2 cent VeChain is an absolute steal compared to where we were? Yeah, absolutely. I think this thing's a ton of what he caught. This has a ton of potential going into the next bull cycle. But right now, I think that there is still about a 50 or so percent drop for this. I think that it's going to be absolutely explosive. And if you're not familiar with this also has a 2 token system where if you're holding VeChain, you're also paid VThor, which is their gas. So there's tons of stuff that you can absolutely do. You're getting, I mean, pretty much just holding it in any VeChain wallet, you're making coins. So that's not a bad way of passive income as well. I also think that if we look at the monthly, let's see, the monthly, I think it is. Yeah, we see how much it's came down. But I take opportunity. This company, despite it being absolutely just shit on from the 28 cents all the way down to where it's at, just under 2 cents, it's still surviving and they're still working hard. And there's tons of FUD around it during that time too. They were saying that it's a Chinese company. They're not. They're from Singapore. And I think that if we're looking at the Asian markets as well, obviously Asian blockchain companies and stuff like that, it's got a pretty good leg going out there. And if they're already, made their way into the US market, this could potentially be a really big one in the next cycle. I think it's going to be a big one from where it is to where it could possibly go, maybe about $2. That wouldn't be surprised. Like that's probably more of a liberal estimate. Conservative would be at least about $1 or so. But I think this one is going to be an extremely good return on investment. Again, not financial advice, but for me, I think this one is definitely one I'm going to be putting most of my portfolio into.
Okay, let's go back to some comments real quick. So Mr. House also brings up Arbitrum for GameFi.
For sure.
Don't disagree with you there. I think that's another strong one. Polygon and Arb. I don't think you can go too wrong with exposure to either one or both of those heading into the next bull run. And then Ace asking about Litecoin. What are your thoughts there?
I had one Litecoin one time and then I sold it at a loss. But
one Litecoin one time.
Yeah, but let me just see this. The monthly looks like it's overbought in the monthly. Again, we're still going into recession, so that'll probably come
Let's
down.
not worry about if it's overbought on the monthly. Let's talk about like what it's going to do in a few years from now. Come on.
Yeah. I want to see where we get in.
Yeah. All right, come on. Let's go.
Litecoin. I don't know, man. I feel like a lot of these older coins are, probably forgotten about. So you're not going to get tons of, adoption from retail. Not too sure if retail likes Litecoin. Obviously, it usually shoots up a couple $100 during the bull markets. Do I think it's a bad investment when it's down low? No, not at all. I think that there's definitely going to be like the halving coming up. That's probably a bullish catalyst, for Litecoin. I'm not going to say it's going to, overtake Ethereum or anything like that, but I do think it'll probably pump once we get to a pretty good volume. Here's the thing with bull markets. All right. No one's a fucking genius in a bull market. All right. All right. Saying you're a genius in a bull market is like your mom calling the Sega Genesis a Nintendo. Like it just is what it is. You're not going to if you're stupid in a bull market and you lose money somehow, well, that's your own fault. But pretty much if you buy in at the, it's pretty low, you're going to make a ton of money as it rises. It's just the way bull markets work. It's not a lot of strategy unless you're trying to exit a bull market. But
that sounds like literally everything in like 2021, whether it was crypto, stocks, sport car, sporting good, or God damn it. Yeah. Cards, sneakers, pretty much every market. You were a genius if you put money into it in 2021.
You can't really lose. Like, again, that's just how it seems. And especially with these being so low in value, when the next cycle turns over, it's like, okay, just put your money anywhere and you'll pretty much, hit a winner. But for Litecoin, yeah, it's probably going to go up a couple $100 during the bull market. I wouldn't be surprised by that. Litecoin tends to do that. Do I think it's going to be one that I would invest in? Probably not. Litecoin just not something for me. I understand people love it. I know people who love Doge probably like Litecoin a lot just because it's on the same blockchain. So it'll be really interesting to see how it does, but I'm not betting too much money on Litecoin personally. But I do agree with Ace that it's probably a bullish catalyst that, the halving is coming up soon.
Okay. What else is on your watch list as we wrap this bad boy up?
Yeah, obviously you guys know we love Chainlink. We're gonna pick up some Chainlink. I am, at least that's gonna be in my bag. One I want to talk about that it's pretty low cap, and I think there's probably gonna be some. If we're looking for coins that are gonna explode, and I can't guarantee it's gonna explode, but coins that are probably gonna have a pretty good return on investment. I'm gonna look at this one. This one's called Findora. Findora is pretty new. A lot of people, in the past few months have been talking about it. It hasn't seen tons of, uh, volume in terms of people talking about it, but I think this one is going to be one in the bull run that's going to be pretty explosive. Like they are pretty much a privacy masking uh, blockchain where you can actually mask what assets you have in your wallet. So you can kind of like have some privacy in terms of what you're doing. I know a lot of people are looking at them in terms of, just working on it's pretty much privacy. I can't really explain it other than that. But if we look at what the price for it right now, it is at what 0.002126. That is roughly, well, I mean, it's not even roughly, that's like what, 1/5. It's like no 1/20th of a penny. I don't know. I don't do math. I just look at charts. But and I'm looking at that, and I
It's
think
a
that's
fifth of a penny.
fifth of a penny. Yeah, you're right. Fifth of a penny. I knew it was something. There's too many zeros. Let me pull up coin market cap real quick. Coin market cap for Findora. I just want to see what the circulating supply is because I'm pretty sure it's a pretty decent circulating supply. The max supply is 21 billion. Current is about 7 billion. And if we look at some tokens like, Harmony One, which have, what is Harmony One? Harmony One was around 13 billion supply. So it's about half of Harmony One's circulating supply. Harmony One absolutely exploded in the last bull run, right? And again, I'm gauging this off of pretty much market caps that other coins have done and what's feasible going into the next one. So if we're pretty early here, and Harmony One was around this at some point during the last bear into the bull, and I think Harmony shot up all the way to about 38 cents. So it went from we're currently around, a fifth of a penny down up to 38 cents. It's pretty impressive gains, especially if you got in early. Do I think that Findora is probably going to drop a little bit more? Yeah, absolutely. I think the whole market's going to drop a lot more. But if you get in, this might be one where it's like, okay, fuck it. Why not get into this? This seems like a pretty good project. Team looks pretty strong. And, a little bit might go a long way. I'm probably going to dump a couple Ks. I don't know how many, but we'll figure it out when we get to the point how much we made from shorting the entire market. And to this one, this is going to be probably like my bet with Harmony I did the last bull market. I threw money into Harmony pretty early. I rode it all the way up to about 34 cents. 38 was the top, and did pretty well that year. So this might be one where it's like I throw a little bit in, see how far it goes, have some exposure to it just because the market cap right now is so low. But at the same time, the circulating supply is low enough to the point where I think it is going to see some considerable gains similar to Harmony One.
Okay. When we launch our own crypto fund, people can invest in it through us that way. We'll just be like the 3 Hours Capital, but not scummy. That's going to be our thing.
I don't know, man. I love scummy crypto companies. That's what I live for. I love to short those fuckers.
Kevin on the run. Okay. Anything else before we wrap it up for the day, or is that about good for you?
I mean, there's so many projects we could sit here all day and
Yeah.
just fucking talk about them. Like I could talk about Avalanche. I think that's going to be a great project. Amazing technology. I've used Avalanche for tons of gaming. What else is there? Not Binance, not BNB. I'm not going to invest. No more. Let's do that. No more exchange tokens. I'm not going to tell you not to invest in them, but exchange tokens just lead to so much fucking trouble.
They're suspect at best.
There is so much trouble. Like whether it's crypto.com, BNB, what's that one that was everyone loved? FTT. That one sucked. That one really sucked. Yeah, I'm not getting into these exchanges. I'm gonna stick with companies that I believe in, founders that I believe in. I'm not gonna put my money in somewhere that's trying to wash funds. Whether that's Binance or FTX when they come back, but I'm just going to stick with the things that I think are safe bets. I think XRP is most likely going to be a pretty good bet too going on. Once this SEC case ends, they're probably going to move out of the US. Yeah, I think XRP is going to be an absolute, banger, maybe $6-7, but we'll see. We'll see. I'm not going to speculate too much. Obviously, we need to get to the point where we're going to get to the bottom and see how low we went to see how high we could potentially go. But I think there is tons of money to be made. We just got to be patient at this point. I think you could, like I said, you could throw money anywhere on a dartboard and you're going to fucking hit a bullseye at some point. I like AVAX Tech a lot, but their VC token unlock schedule is horrible. Something to keep in mind. Yeah. And they also had the problem with, what was it? Snowball or something. It was the one dude from Quadriga who ended up being part of that DAO was it?
I don't know who you're talking about, but good.
Yeah.
Love
was a little
love the
sus.
point there from Ace. Always helps bring value to the streams as well. Okay, that is going to wrap it up for today. Appreciate everybody for watching. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place, talking PPI, talking about where we're looking in the stock market as we head into the next bull run, whenever that may be. If you have not yet, please do us a favor, hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, drop a comment if you enjoyed our show. We'd love to hear that. If you don't, you can also drop a comment. I just probably won't read it. And share us out on social media if you want more people to find out about us, because that's what we're trying to do. We love making this show. We want to try to provide as much value as possible. So for Kevin, I am Jeremy. Have an awesome day, everybody. We will see you next time.
Take care, everyone.